Coach, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Hey, it's been a while. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we haven't had you in a while. Have you been taking advantage of the weather, getting out on the tee boxes?
I hit some balls yesterday. Not well, but, it was a tough couple of weeks there. I wasn't away in Florida or anything. And the course, even the nice days, it was just too wet.
Right. Now, do you make your full-time home in Florida, or do you kind of go back and forth?
No, I'm in Rehoboth a little bit, but not really much in Florida. I'll go down there a couple of days, but it's Bethesda, basically.
Gotcha.
So.
Gotcha, yeah.
And then when you're in Rehoboth, do you play golf out there?
Yeah,
typically?
Yeah, Rehoboth Country Club. Very nice.
Very nice.
It's a good beach course.
Yep.
Right. Perfect.
Well, we were just kind of talking about the Players' Championship, and that 17th hole, man, that gave a bunch of guys fits yesterday.
Those guys, they're the best in the world, obviously, and they get up there, and you can just see it in their faces. It's like a guy with a free throw, down one and one with 2 seconds left. They have that same look, so it's good.
Have you played out there at Sawgrass? What are some of the? I assume you've played some of the best ones in the country.
Well, we had a thing when I was coaching called Coaches vs. Cancer. We'd raise money, and to get the guys with the money to come, you had to get a Sawgrass or Pebble Beach or places like that, and the guys would put up a lot of money to play. So, yeah, I did play Sawgrass, and I did put a ball in the water on 17. So,
right. I hope no one.
It's very relatable, Gary.
I hope no one talked to your ball when it was in the air.
That's the rule. No. Here's the deal. See, that's kind of a.
It's a legend.
Putting.
Yeah,
You're on the green, and you putt, and the ball's rolling. It looks like it's going in the cup, or it's just rolling along.
Yeah.
Nobody's allowed to talk to your ball, and that comes from. I'll give you the history on it.
All right.
I talked with Michael Jordan one time to name drop, and he said whenever he shot a free throw, no one on the Bulls was allowed to talk to the ball, because the ball knew whether it was supposed to go in or not, so you didn't have to talk to it. So I took that over to the putting. Yeah.
Yeah, but see, I heard a legendary story of you doing that, like out in the you were out in the fairway and you hit a wedge in the green, or somebody said, I can't remember what they said.
Yeah, something like that.
Get up, and you screamed at him, "Don't ever talk to my ball."
It could have happened, but usually it's just putting.
Just on the putting green.
Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to ask, before we talked about Terps yesterday and playing Michigan, who was the best clutch free throw shooter you coached? So if you're down one with 7 seconds to play, you need both knocked down. Who was it?
Well, it's probably Juan Dixon. In other words, he wasn't the best. Drew Nichols, like in practice when he had the contest and everything with free throws, Drew would win them. And Drew was a very good game free throw shooter also. But, if you had to make one, Dixon would find a way to get the ball in the basket. He played like that. That was just his MO. Like he wanted the ball, he wanted to get fouled in those situations. And a lot of guys, you have to find that out in coaching. Like who wants to be in that situation at the end of the game? Because you don't want them touching the ball if they don't want to be in that situation, even though they're a good free throw shooter.
Can I tell you another funny Gary story? So Gary, I'm making a little transition. My son plays lacrosse at Marist, and they need some help this year with COVID, so I volunteered to help with the color commentary. I've never done that before. And before the game, the play-by-play guy goes to me and goes, "You want to go through the pronunciations?" And I go, "Oh, yeah, that's going to be difficult for me, some of these." And I'll never forget, because Gary doesn't know this, but I was a keen Gary observer. Gary would have open practices.
You would go to practice all the time.
Yeah. I go all the time, and I used to coach basketball, and I would just learn. I mean, it was amazing. But I'll never forget, there was one of Šarūnas's first games.
Yeah.
The PA announcer butchered his name.
Oh.
And, didn't say Jasikevičius correctly or whatever. And
did Gary throw him out of the arena?
Lost his mind. He lost his mind and went over there in front of 14,000 people and grilled the PA guy.
Do you remember that?
Well, yeah, that's an insult to the kid. Everybody's got a job. Your job. If you're at that level, announcing at Maryland, you should know the names. I mean, we didn't have that many tough names either. It wasn't like
Right.
every guy on the roster was from Eastern Europe.
Right.
So,
Right.
just, Šarūnas Jasikevičius. And once you get it, it rolls. It's a
Right.
not a hard name to say. You just, the spelling messes you up when you look at it. But it's easy to say. And so most of those guys, they have sheets where everything is sounded out.
Yeah.
Where
Right.
so you can't make a mistake almost. And I don't know what happened there, but that was probably.
Yeah, our producer has one of those sheets.
sure
he has
that- I'm
trouble
sure that
talking
happened.
too.
He choked.
No, it definitely happened. I saw it happen, Coach.
So, Coach, Turge beat Izzo twice this year, and yesterday they got down 17-6, I think it was, when I said, oh, man, this is going to be a long game. But then they battled back defensively. They were great. Wiggins was really good. Man, he's just really athletic. And they win handily. I know that there were some people in the media that thought Maryland was a question mark to get in as an at-large. I thought they were in anyway, but now there's no question. They're in. But just kind of talk about the way they played yesterday, and, especially defensively. They've been so good all year. I know they had their challenges offensively, but defensively they were really good yesterday. Forced 18 turnovers.
Yeah, I agree with you. They got down early, but they once they start scoring, and like you said, they have some challenges sometimes. Their defense is good enough, like yesterday, to get them back in the game if they were down. And then playing Maryland, in other words, Michigan State's defense, they don't match up well with Maryland. Maryland is better athletically. They're better one-on-one. And Maryland did a lot of isolation yesterday where they really got the ball in the hands of the guy they wanted to, and then that guy just went to work. And if Michigan State doubled or showed a lot of help, Maryland was moved well enough to get open passes from the guy that the double was coming down on or whatever. And, just athletically, you could see it. Maryland was better. They got to the ball quicker. It was just one of those games where Maryland made Michigan State look slow. And Michigan State's not slow, but Maryland made them look, way below Maryland in terms of athletic ability, which, becomes big in basketball now with all the guys that, you look at Maryland's team, they got 5 guys out there, probably not a natural point guard, but 5 guys that can post you up, 5 guys can put the ball on the floor and take it to the basket. So if they can get into those situations, that's when they're really tough offensively. Mm-hmm. The thing that Maryland's going through a couple of times this year, they don't get enough shots off. I think it was against, I want to say Penn State, or those 2 games they lost. They only took 46 shots in that one game.
Yeah.
And so the volume isn't there, so they have to shoot the ball well. But when they do, they're really good. They can play with anybody.
Coach, if you were coaching this team, and I said it throughout your entire career, nobody did more with less. Now, Gary had a ton of talented players. He'll tell you all those guys he sent to the league. But as it sort of an underdog team, I always loved us in that position. If you were coaching this team, I feel like we're huge underdogs against Michigan. We don't have the size to match up with Dickinson, et cetera. How would you approach this game with Michigan today?
Well, that was the problem the first game with Dickinson.
Yeah.
And by the way, if he started yelling, if he starts yelling at our bench or whatever, he should get fouled really hard the next time he gets the ball. I mean, I don't.
Good point.
Don't bring that here. It's like.
Yeah.
So anyway, but like the problem for Maryland defensively last time, I thought, was when Dickinson did get the ball, and he's good. The double team took place, which you probably have to do against him because of Maryland's size, and Maryland didn't get out of the double team quick enough. In other words, there were easy shots for Michigan once Dickinson passed the ball out of the double team.
The kick out.
And they got to figure out a way to get out quicker from the double, because I think they still have the double team because that guy's pretty good close to the basket, and he can hurt you. So you got to make him pass it, but then you got to cover, and that was the problem in the first game. And Michigan's really good. I mean, there's a reason, they were in the top 3 all year. It's not like that. Well, that's easy. That's all we got to do. You have to see what's going on in the game, see who's hot. In other words, some guys you don't have to go out on as quick because they're not shooting the ball well. But you got to find those one or two guys that look like they're going to have a good day, and make sure they get covered first out of the double team.
Joined by legendary Maryland basketball coach Gary Williams. And Gary, nice honor bestowed upon Daryl Morcell, Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. He strikes me as a guy who would have fit perfectly on one of your teams, just a hard-nosed guy. Started over 100 games for the Terps during his career, and a vital piece of this team.
Yeah, I really like Morcell. I would have loved to coach him because what you said is exactly right. He brings it every game, and he can win games for you without scoring a lot of points, which, some guys, every other part of their game is dictated by how well they're shooting the basketball. If Morcell misses his first couple shots, that doesn't affect his defense at all. It doesn't affect his leadership. He's right there for you. And I think he's been, I hope he gets enough attention in this Defensive Player of the Year in the Big Ten. That is a big honor because there's a lot of guys who play defense in the Big Ten. And, he should be appreciated by, the Maryland people because he's been a loyal guy. And, he plays like you'd like every player to play. And every player doesn't play like that. And I'm not just talking about offense, but in terms of work ethic and, things like that. And that's what you need, and especially as a senior, that gives you great leadership.
Hey, Coach, getting back to Izzo, I'm pretty sure, didn't you introduce him at the Hall of Fame a few years ago?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So you're obviously tight with him.
Yeah, we're good friends. Friends.
I assume you were. I don't know what your head-to-head record was against Izzo, but tell us what that was. And then also, what was so difficult about coaching against his team? Obviously, he had great players, but, man, he's just a great X's and O's guy. Yeah,
that's the thing with Izzo this year. I think he's down a little bit talent-wise. I don't know if it's because of the COVID or, what it is. But, usually there's a couple NBA guys running around out there, and I'm not sure there is this year. But I think I'm 2-2. I might be wrong on that. He was Judd Heathcote's assistant when I was coaching at Ohio State in the 80s, and that's where I first got to know him. And like I tell him, I told him, I said, you're lucky we got to know each other when you're an assistant because I don't usually talk to assistants. I just talk to the head coaches, and that really pissed him off. It's like, so. But anyway, he had that football background. He was from up there in Michigan. He was just a tough guy, and he didn't look like a basketball coach, and he had to work really hard just to get that job. So I always admired that, and. I think we're 2-2, but he won two big games. He won the 2010 game to go to the Elite Eight out in Spokane, and then he also won in 2004. We had a jump shot to go to the Elite Eight against Michigan State, and we missed the jump shot from the top of the circle. So we beat him in Disney, and we beat him in Madison Square Garden. So it's been. That was fun because after the game, those 2 hours during the game, we hated each other. After the game, we were fine.
Right.
And that's the way it's supposed to be. You don't hold grudges. If the guy's a good guy, he's a good guy just because he coaches like you do and he beats you. That doesn't mean that, your friendship is over. So this was funny. If you ever heard him speak, he went off at halftime yesterday. You guys see that?
Oh, yeah.
That was great.
He was yelling at that one ref, but once they showed the replay, Coach, that was a good call. I mean, it was a foul.
Well, it happens, I mean, you're looking at it from the bench. You get a bad angle. You do. You get on referees when you shouldn't. And I think what Izzo was trying to do, like a lot of coaches try to do, is get his team fired up as much as anything because they were really playing poorly right then. And, he was upset that Maryland was shooting so many free throws. And I thought it was a pretty honest whistle, just easy for me to say looking at it,
on the replay,
from TV. But Izzo felt he was getting the bad whistle. And I think it was 16-6 at halftime and free throws attempted. So.
Hey, Coach, you talk about how after the game, 2 hours, you hate each other. People always commented how, and sometimes I would go to your pressers after the game. It'd be the most intense game ever. Gary'd sweat through another suit, and you'd be pretty calm, even after a loss. Were you that same way with the guys? Like, I'd see you get after. You guys would get – I wish everybody had the privilege of going to watch Gary Williams coach in practice. Gary went after it, and you would go after guys. But then after practice was over, were you able to let that go and
joke around with them?
all of that, joke around with the guys and all that?
Yeah, I mean that's what what people see is you yelling at a player or something like that. They don't see like the next day at players in your office and you're talking about a lot of stuff, not just basketball and
right.
Getting ready for the next practice. And as long as you're honest with the players, I mean nobody likes to get yelled at. But like I used to get yelled at, when I was coaching at Maryland by the administration. So I mean that's the way, but the players know if you're, in other words, you can't be somebody that you're not in practice, and if that's your personality, that's your personality. I know a lot of guys, they just kind of stand there and at half court and look down each end as the assistant coaches put the guys through whatever. And I always like to be involved in practice. I always like to, feel like I was coaching. That's a great thing about basketball. You got 12 guys. You're the offensive coordinator, you're the defensive coordinator. You're the guy that determines who plays, all that stuff. Where, you get into football and you have all the specialists that, really report to the head coach and say we should do this, we should do that. Well, I never liked that. I like the basketball thing where you can control. I always said, like, if I'm going down doing my stuff, not somebody else's.
Yeah.
Coach Williams, we always love having you. It's Coach Gary Williams, former Terps Maryland head coach, a legend in College Park and beyond. Thanks, as always, for the time. We'll talk to you again soon.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I hope you guys are doing well.